Hello everyone. In this tutorial, I'm going to explain that the fundamental concept of dependency injection and bean configurations. As you know, the bean is the crucial pillars in Spring Boot architecture, right? So everything will be treated as a bean, and we are going to inject those bean into our whenever it's required to. If we are want to get some method, or maybe if we want to use some methods from another class or something, so in the time we need to inject those bean. So this dependency injection and the bean configurations, these are the main pillars or crucial pillars in the Spring Boot architecture. So these concepts are very essential to understanding how Spring Boot operates those things, right? So here we are going to understand deeply that the core concept of Spring Boot dependency injection, exploring the significance of bean configurations. So here, I will try to give you some comprehensive understanding of this principle through a step by step with the practical knowledge that how we are going to create the bean and how we are going to inject those dependencies into our class. By the end of this article, you will get some idea that how dependency injections and bean configurations will work, and obviously you'll get some knowledge effectively that how we are going to use those things in our near future projects. So now, if we talked about the Spring Boot dependency injection, okay, so as it's as its core, dependency injection is a design pattern that provides basically a loose coupling between the components within a applications. With Spring Boot, it's managing the dependencies become effortless due to its built-in inversion of control that is called the IOC container. This is basically handles all the creation and the injection of the object that is called a bean for making it easier to maintain and the test application. Let's say if we are building a car, right, where you have different types of experts that each part, like maybe there's engine, tire, seat. So for each part there is very different types of expert, and all they know that where how they fit do all the things in a car. So dependency injection is like having this expert assemble that car for us. So they know actually which part goes where and how to connect them properly. Similarly, in programming, dependency injection, this is actually Spring Boot manage all the connection between the different parts of our code, so that it looks like very easy. Actually, it's managing the dependencies for our code. So this is the concept of this inversion of control, or it's a IOC. Okay, so now if we talked about the steps for implementing this dependency injection into our Spring Boot applications, so first of all actually, if we want to define the dependencies, so we can class whatever the class we're going to develop or create over here. We need to annotate those class either component or specialized annotations like service annotation, repository, or controller. So if we annotate those class with this annotation, then those are will be treated as a Spring Bean. Now if we are going to inject the dependencies, so in the class where basically we want to use these dependencies, so annotate the field, or maybe we are doing some constructor injection where the dependency will be injected with AutoWare. Spring Boot, that IOC container that we talked about, will automatically fulfill the dependencies when the class is initiated. So that actually all the things will be maintained by the Spring Boot IOC controller. We just need to defining those classes with, or maybe we need to mark those classes with some annotations like component, service, repository, or controller based on the need. Okay, so we can inject the dependencies, as I said, that with the AutoWare, or maybe we can do some constructor injection or maybe field injection. Okay, now if we talked about the programmatic, this is actually about the theoretical concept. Now if we come with some kind of how we are going to achieve all these things with programmatically, if we want to give some explanations over here. So for that we are going to create one applications with the Spring Boot applications basically that I have already created, and import in my Eclipse editor. So next we will create some class over here. That is basically a Maven project, so that I have imported. So let's say like create one service class over here. So how we are going to create that bean? Actually basically let's say there is a one user service, right? Okay, so let's say for declaring this as a like Spring Bean, we need to annotate this class with service annotation, and these annotations will come from this stereotype.service. Okay, now here we can defining our own method, something like let's say get user info. If we defining this over here, so that method we can defining over here. Okay, next if we want to create our own bean, so for that we can create, let's say, some kind of a configuration classes. So let me create one configurations class over here, like config, let's say. Okay, and for that we need to annotate this particular class with configurations to make it as a Spring Bean. Okay, so this configurations we need to annotate this class. Next, if we want to create the bean of this user service basically, then we can define like something like that, like this bean annotations with this one, like it will return the new user service. Okay, so using this we can like create this one. Now suppose if we want to something, if we want to in this way also we can create the bean. Now for creating the bean with some custom configuration, that also we can do, like we can create the object, then we can like defining something, we can set some properties over there, then configuring the bean with the constructor injection, that also like we can do. Let's say like if we want to add some repositories over here, let's say create one repository. So for that we need to defining some repositories over here, let's say user repo. And obviously that I'm not used any entities over here, but I can create one entity like users. Okay, and we just need to annotate this one as entity. Okay, okay, because I've not used this JPA dependencies over here, that's why it's not coming. So we need to add this dependency injection is Spring Boot data JPA. Spring Boot starter data JP. Okay, these dependencies we are going to use over here. Okay, so now here we are going to use this entity annotation. So make it as a uh, let it download. Once it will download that all the jars, related jars, then we can able to import entity. Okay, now we can just make it as private long ID. Okay, and we can make it as ID annotations. Okay, so now like we can use this repository, and it will actually basically extend uh, JPA repositories, and here we can mention at users, and ID will be long. Okay, so now like here, over here, if we want to like create this bean with constructor injection, then it will be look like something like that, user bean with the constructor. Okay, so this user repo, and obviously we need to create this constructor over here, like because it's this one. Okay, so here basically we can like private final user repo. Okay, and here this dot repo equals to this one. Okay, so in this way basically we can like use this constructor injections over here. Okay, so even also we can create the bean based on the like conditional on property, like we can defining some conditions, and based on that condition we can defining those properties over here. Create this default constructor. Okay, okay, so we can also create some bean with some conditional property. Regarding that conditional bean, that how this conditional bean is basically work. So for that already like I have created one videos that how we are condition bean basically is used. So now if we use this conditional on bean properties over here, that also we can do over here, like this conditional on property. If this particular flag is enabled, then it will create this bean or not. Default it will be true, else it will be false. Okay, so based on this basically it will create. So these are the like options that how we are going to create the beans. Okay, as you can see this bean annotations on this user service method, that indicates that this method particularly it will create beans. It will also create a bean, it will, but these are the different types of concept. Based on the constructor it will create the bean. Condition on property, if this is enabled is true, then only it will create the bean. So these are the different types of ways of creating the bean. These are the configurations of the bean, right? These are the conditions applied over here. Maybe there are some factory classes that based on that also you can create those things. Now if we talked about that different ways of dependency injection, that whatever the bean we have created, now suppose here if we want to use those like uh, inject those beans, so how we are going to inject those things. So as I mentioned that let's say this is the user repo that we want to use over here, or maybe let's say create another class over here, that is user management service. Okay, let's say we have created one class over here, user management service. Okay, now if we see that we have used this class over here, we have used this service over here, so we have injected this particular service in a constructor injection, that is called the constructor injections. So here basically I'm going to talking about the various methods of performing the dependency injection in Spring Boot. One of the and recommended you to this constructor injections. Okay, here user bean is injected via constructor of the user management service class. Next is like field injections. Okay, so how we are going to use this field injection? The field injections is basically, so for that let me create one controller over here. Let's say it's a user controller. Okay, so using this REST controller basically we can create the controller. Here you can see that we have injected using the auto word annotations. So this is called a field injection. So here we have directly injected into the user controller class. Okay, next is the like repo like setter injection. So setter injection means, let's say we created this service layer over here. Now if we want to like this service over here, let me create one method. Actually let me create one component class over here similar to that. User management, let's say, and over here we are not going to use this auto word, we are just going to use this private, this field actually. Okay, now we need to use the setter method of this one. Okay, here something like this setter method. If we want to generate the setter of this, then it will be setter method, and under this setter one we are going to use the field, means inject this bean. This is called the setter injection. So user service bean is injected through a setter method in this user management class. There is another one is that is called the parameter injections. That is also similar kind of things, like we need to defining this private final, and over there we are going to create those things. So constructor based injection that I already talked about, that is the constructor based injection. Okay, sometimes also we can do similar kind of things in a configuration class also. Here also we can create the configure like constructor, and over there we can inject the bean. That is also we can do over here. We use this constructor based injection smoothly to integrated bean, like as you can see over here, this user services. Okay, whenever we are going to use this setter or this setter or the field injection, so setter injection basically, so over there is not necessary to use this auto aware annotations, and because it's just to like understanding or make it clear, just we are using this auto aware. Okay, so these are the like following these steps, that how we are going to inject those bean, and what is the like best way to do this, how we are going to create the bean, and how we are going to inject those bean into our Spring Boot classes whenever we are going to use those things. So this is the overall things, that how we are going to create the bean and how we are going to inject those bean into our classes. This is the overall things. If you guys have anything, please do let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. Please press the bell icon for further notification. Thanks for watching. See you in my next videos. Bye bye.